Hey everybody, Adam and Andrew here with It Takes Two Takes. We're going to talk about the penultimate episode of Season 2, The Mandalorian. Before we begin, I do want to, of course, as many channels do, recommend that you subscribe, give us a like if you'd like to. We do reactions to trailers, reactions to episodes when we have the time. We definitely review episodes of television shows. We review movies, Netflix originals. We do a lot of discussion about the things that I believe many of you are watching. So if you like what we're saying here, if you like what you're seeing here, you know what to do. There's the button. Do your thing. I'm not even going to get into our last episode. For all I know, people that are watching this, Adam, didn't even see it. I will say this. We had a jailbreak episode, as you predicted, Adam.
I mean, honestly, we're going to spend next episode with him doing a jailbreak. And then we got, one episode left of the season for whatever wrap-up they're going to do?
I mean, it lasted all, but I don't even know, maybe 2 minutes that the actual jailbreak occurred. The jail, it was broken. He got out.
Honestly, to a certain extent, I would have almost liked a little bit of a jailbreak episode. The planet that he was doing hard labor on was kind of interesting. It looks like, salvaging or breaking up a bunch of old ships, scrap metal and everything.
You find scrap metal interesting? That just seeing a bunch of things.
Instead of a sand planet with a bunch of scraps on it, it was a neat setting for where he was doing his hard labor.
But they ultimately went to what I would probably consider more of like a lush tropical jungle sort of planet, right?
Yeah, like a South America type of planet. It had stormtroopers dying. It had Boba Fett in a clean version of his armor. It had Slave One destroying ships.
How did he clean up? My man was clean. How did that happen so fast?
Everything happens fast in this. So I would assume all the apologist fanboys love this episode.
Okay, all right, hang on. You're pushing already. Listen, before people start disliking this video, let's talk about some things that worked for a moment here. Can we just dial it down a bit? Dial it down like we need to, as if we're taking heavily explosive material across a bridge to ultimately get to an Imperial base. What I want to talk about is, I personally kind of saw it a mile away in terms of the foreshadowing of, we got to show our face, and it's going to scan us, and I knew it was coming. I didn't hate it because I knew it was coming, but I knew it was coming. I liked that Mando was like, listen, I'm basically a neutral. I have no record from an Imperial standpoint because no one's seen my face. Yet I'm not willing to take this helmet off. And I thought the little sort of road trip, let's call it, as brief as it may have been, between Bill Burr and Din, I was enjoying Mayfield basically calling out the obvious. Like, he was just disrupting everything that was going on with these characters. Like, why do you wear the helmet? You understand that there's no good, there's no bad. Like, people, when the time comes, you got to do what you got to do. Like, he was just calling everything out, and I enjoyed. It was kind of refreshing. I don't know if you felt the same way.
Yeah, I think the whole point of this episode was to give an excuse why Mando's got to take his helmet off. They could have gone any other number of different ways with, once they got Mayfield, him having the information that they need to go find. Instead, they went through this elaborate break into this heavily fortified Imperial base so he can access the terminal, and that's the only one that they can get to. I mean, the previous base, that secret base that Mando broke into, was less heavily guarded. So I feel like the whole episode was mainly about Mando needs to take his helmet off.
Oh, yes.
Because ultimately Mayfield isn't,
yes.
Ultimately Mayfield's not helping get the child, so Mayfield was only in it to go to this base so he can take off his helmet to get the location. I mean, I'm hoping that the next episode isn't rushed, because they could have, they could have used so much of this episode for what's about to happen in the next episode, because next week's is the season finale.
It was an episode dedicated to him taking his helmet off. You can oversimplify it that way. I'm not going to disagree from a factual basis, right? But a lot of what this season has been about has been Mando questioning what he stands for, questioning what he's been told. As it was explained as they were sitting there having a drink, it was, everybody says they want freedom, but what they really want is order. There were so many good moments to me that explained, the character development of Mando. And that was really just, it was an important, to me, character moment. And without it, I don't know, and we'll see when we get there, that this finale will maybe have the same weight that it may ultimately have. I don't want to speak too soon.
Well, and
but
really,
I do think
we really won't know if this episode has any real weight. It might not even be this season. It might be next season.
That's what I just said. I don't know.
Right, and I'm not discounting it on the idea that he's shown his helmet. It was a very long about way to do it. And
Can we talk for a minute about the moment when he took off his helmet? Because I want to give credit to Pedro Pascal, which was when he had that helmet off. I don't know what his method was, right? But if it were me, from what I saw there, the method acting was your dick's exposed this entire time, and he played that off wonderfully. If that was the case, he seemed so uncomfortable in his own skin. He was shifting. He was eyeing every corner. He felt so exposed, and I thought that was expressed very well in this episode.
Can I ask why Mando bothers like carefully grooming his facial hair? I mean, I would think
I had the same question. I was going to get there.
Either let it go really hairy, or shave it all off because it's just convenient because it will itch or whatever. But having a nicely groomed facial hair for a guy who never takes his helmet off feels a little out of place to me. Just saying.
It's one thing to grow a beard because you could just wake up and have a beard. I get it. It's another thing to be completely clean shaven. Maybe it's a comfort preference. I totally get that as well. But to totally have a completely groomed, trimmed, this is like scissor cut level mustache and borderline goatee. You're spending a lot of attention on your face
that you don't show,
you don't want to expose. I don't know. I don't answer for that one.
Yeah,
you got me on that one.
Yeah, and I'm hoping there's a good reason why he sent the message to Moff Gideon. I mean, I would have thought a surprise, like, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
Surprising it would have been a better approach other than telegraphing, I'm coming for... I'm hoping...
It was like...
I'm hoping next episode somehow that message plays some sort of subliminal or psychological factor that helps them. If not, it seems really dumb.
He was basically like taunting him. I don't know what that means. I mean, it was almost like it was like WWE, like start playing your hype music as you're giving that speech. Like they missed opportunity to just not play some hype music during that entire speech. Now, it was similar to Moff Gideon's whole speech to Mando when he was basically taunting him.
Yeah, but if you're going to basically invade an Imperial ship or base or whatever ultimately they end up on in order to steal back the child, that's like the villain telling James Bond the whole operation right before he assumes he's gonna die type of deal before James Bond gets out, right?
It was totally those vibes. It was a very odd. It felt out of place to me. I don't know if they thought people were just going to be like standing up out of their chairs, like, oh, yes. Like, I don't know what that was trying to accomplish. Little quick nod, little appreciation on the fact that I loved seeing that seismic charge go off. I'm just going to throw it out there. Whatever you want to call it.
It's a throwback to the prequel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Django throwing him at Obi-Wan. Like, whatever you want to call it.
It's obviously a weapon.
I was fanboying
slave,
over that.
It's obviously a weapon of Slave One. You know, so yeah, it was a nice throwback to episode 2.
I was worried you were going to say that was like fan service, and I was going to be like, dude, like no.
On Slave One, I expect that, you know, when you're talking about behind and everything like that, it would have seemed odd to have a different type of gun because it just wouldn't have made sense.
I'm glad you didn't say it was for fan service, because I would have been like, hey, you know what? Seismic charge these fanboy loins. If that's the case, I'll take it. And I said it anyway. I also like that there are moments in this show, it's not the first time, but certainly more so in this moment, where TIE fighters appear to save the day. Like, you're the viewer and you're like, oh, good, TIE fighters. Like, I just like that it kind of flips that. It was interesting to me.
Yeah, this whole race that was blowing... Did they even explain why there's these race that's blowing up the shipments?
No, and they called them pirates, which by definition, a pirate
steals
like
it.
A pirate, they sabotage things, they hijack, and they rob. There was no robbery. Like, unless we're
This
talking
was-
about the robbing of life, I don't know why they refer to them as pirates.
This should have been like terrorists. They should have referred to them as terrorists.
You're in the Star Wars universe. You could have just made up a word, and I would have been like, cool. Like, I would have been like land fish people, like with, thermal detonators. Cool. I don't care. But you had to use the word pirates. Anyone that knows, like, you just be like, oh, pirates, cool. Oh, they're gonna rob. No, they're just blowing shit up. Like, yeah, that one I didn't understand. But obviously nitpicking here. But yes, it stuck out to me.
So yeah, the episode, I don't know. It was what it was for me. I mean, it's great that they've got this whole universe to play in, and it's apparently so expansive they don't care about details, and that bugs me a little bit. I feel like they could take a little bit effort on the details of some things, whether it be a comment, an offhanded comment about how Boba Fett's armor all of a sudden looks brand spanking new.
My man was
or
clean.
An offhanded, any offhanded comment about why the hell are you shaved well, I mean, any number of things that these little things that some are going to say I'm nitpicking about, these little details that a line here or there covers them up real easily. And I get that some things are plot things, like the message at the end. Maybe that serves a purpose later on, and him taking off the helmet, maybe that will have ramifications next season. I get all that, right? So those aren't the things. It's these little details that slip through the cracks that they're just like, it's Star Wars. Our fans don't care about the details. As long as people are being shot by blasters, things are blowing up, and we have these recognized characters.
You lost me on that one. You had me until that moment. I disagree with that, but I understand what you're saying. But I still disagree with keeping it as simplified and oversimplified as just fun and blasters. I feel like from a lore standpoint, the details have been captured. From a plot standpoint, there's some areas that I agree. There's, I would like to see some things come to fruition. But it also begs the question. You see what's on the slate right now with what Disney is trying to do with their Star Wars series and films. It makes me wonder, we're hyper focused on this show because it's the only Star Wars anything out there right now. If we were inundated with Star Wars series and expanding upon, the world building and the lore, would we be so hyper focused on these things? I don't have an answer to that, but I'm just posing the question.
I probably still would be. I'd like them to do better. I'd like them to, season 3, bring in some writers who apparently nitpick a little bit better than your current writers do to fill in your little gaps. That's all I'm asking. Please.
Hire Adam is what he's saying.
I think there's enough people out there that will pick up these little details and say, this doesn't really, why this and this, that it would make it at least a little bit harder for me to nitpick. That's for sure. That's for sure. But
so there you have it.
That's this week's episode. Obviously, you're not going to agree with me like normal. That's fine. I can take it. But don't blame Andrew for it.
Oh, well, There goes my camera again.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah. So that's this week's episode. We got one more episode of this season, and we'll see if they fill in some of the gaps. And we'll see what the Storming the Castle episode next week is like. And do we get any other recruits from previous episodes that will be helping out with the Storming the Castle? We'll find out. And until next week, Andrew, anything else you want to say?
No, it's just going to be another. Listen, we're like this episode. We're filming now. It's at 30 minutes. By the time you see this, I don't know what it's gonna be at. Let's just say, I don't know, 14. So I don't know how else to illustrate my pain right now.
No. Until next week, this is Adam and Andrew with It Takes Two Takes.